We call them the Saints of St. Paul's, those who had the vision to establish an Episcopal congregation on the Quimper Peninsula at the edge of the Salish Sea. St. Paul's is an historic church. It was just the third Episcopal parish formed in the new Washington Territory. Its church building is the oldest Episcopal church still in use in the state. Its founders and builders are the first Saints of St. Paul's. They had the vision to create a community of faith that would offer the gospel message of God's love in a rapidly changing world. Over time, faces have changed, but the love of God and the life of worship and service continues today, a beacon of light in the Port Townsend community. As Holy Eucharist is about to begin, all are welcomed to Christ's table with these words. This table belongs to Christ. It doesn't belong to St. Paul's or to the Episcopal Church. All are welcome to share the feast.
We seek to extend hospitality in all areas of our life of faith and service. Although the pandemic has created changes in the ways in which we serve, the goal of extending generous welcome continues.
We believe that each person who comes to St. Paul's for any reason is a blessing, a beloved witness to God's love, as we seek to widen the path to welcome.
We like to say that all are welcome at Christ's table, and we mean it. But let's be real. Up till now, St. Paul's has not been a welcoming place to worship for all in our community. Our worship space is not welcoming to those who have trouble seeing or are just uncomfortable in the dimly lit and closed sanctuary. Our facilities are not welcoming to those who have trouble hearing clearly. And this space is not welcoming to those who have mobility issues. I'll tell you when my eyes finally opened to that. I'm not proud of how long it took. Shortly after I came to St. Paul's, almost 30 years ago now, we had a special service with many guests. It's probably a funeral. One of the guests used a wheelchair, and I got to see how we handled that. Our guest waiting and watching while Mary installed the temporary ramp into the nave. And I thought, wow, she's great, but that's not great for our guest. Service ended. After a few weeks, the issue faded from my mind. It rarely comes up, only when we have a guest. A person in a wheelchair isn't going to choose St. Paul's for regular worship. There are other options in town. And more recently, I heard that Bishop Rickle commented to someone after a big confirmation service where we again had a guest in a wheelchair. Afterward, he asked, "What are you going to do about that?" But the next Sunday, I went to church, nobody needed the ramp, it faded from my mind. Then, finally, the issue touched someone I knew well from their faithful Sunday worship all the years I've been here. She got old. It happens. Eventually needed a walker to get from here to there. And by gum, she switched to Grace Lutheran for the final months of her life, so she could still go to Sunday worship and make it from the door to the seat. And that finally opened my eyes. I thought, are you kidding me? Decades of faithful worship and contributions to our parish life? What is that worth? I wanted to get some friends together and lower her through the ceiling, like the friends of the paralyzed man did, so he could be with Jesus. That didn't seem practical here. The thing about this issue that drained it of urgency, for me anyway, was that the people most affected aren't here on Sunday morning. It's too hard to get in. I needed to actually miss somebody to realize, hey, this is us. That walker, that wheelchair, that could be waiting for me in my future. When that time comes, will I be welcomed in?
Our parish has long grappled with the issue of accessibility within our historic worship space.
We have a plan to clear the path forward and make our worship space more accessible for all.
The prophet's words echo throughout time. Make straight the path of our God. In our time, making straight the path means leveling the floors so that all have access to full, unencumbered participation in worship. It means enhancing the light in our beautiful worship space and having the ability to amplify the sound so that everyone can hear the words spoken in praise and thanksgiving, and to see with greater clarity the beautiful worship we share as a community. We have a plan and a vision to improve access to worship in our sanctuary and to enhance the worship experience for all.
As stewards of the building and the community with which we have been entrusted, it is now our turn to continue building the vision. It is our turn, and we're glad to take it on.
Those who came before us had a vision, but they could not see into the future. We can't know the future either.
They did their best to make a beautiful place of worship, and we will do our best for ourselves and for those who come after us.
A bright path lies before us as we seek to widen our welcome, to invite full participation in worship by providing physical access to the font, the lectern, the choir, and the altar table, as well as access through the new door to worship, the door of online streaming. Improvements in natural and interior lighting will brighten every corner of our sanctuary.
And a tithe of all that comes in, 10 cents on every dollar you give, will be split between 2 gifts to the future, an ongoing maintenance fund for the care and preservation of our campus, and a sustained fund for outreach designed to foster relationships and promote the welfare of our larger community.
The goal of this capital campaign is to make the Sacred Space project a reality. Its success depends on each one of us. It depends on you, on your prayers, and on your generosity.
We ask for each household to study the provided campaign information and prayerfully seek God's guidance for your involvement. Together, we can make our beloved parish a welcoming place for all.
This building doesn't belong to us. It is a place where we, as the local expression of the body of Christ, come together to worship in our place and in our time, a living community of faith that we will be passing on to future generations. It is our turn to create a bright path forward as we honor our past and welcome the future.